Okay, good. And
There you go.
just got to keep making them burn that essence.
So let's see what we can do on the next turn.
All right, so I got to run gift. So if he does end up playing a gift, I have a counter to it, which is good. I'm curious and say, okay, let's see. So the next attack we're going to recall is only a claw attack. That kind of sucks. I wish it was something. Could have been another claw slam. That'd been nice. I say that claw attack. It's deceptive because it's so cheap. You just kind of write it off. If you can actually train it to rank 3, though, it can speed up your development to such a degree. Having that one extra action a turn can really turn the tides, even though you're not doing a ton of damage. But generally, it's it's your fallback attack, and it's meant to be that.
It's saved my battles more often than I can count, quite frankly. Especially when you are all out of ideas and you just want to get something on the board. It can be a good thing. Again, just a couple of just here and there, like you say, it can add up over time. And if you can survive an onslaught of a series of attacks or a series of particularly bad hands, that can mean the difference in the long term, because once that advantage has been pressed and they're all out of ideas and suddenly it's now your turn, it's such a hard thing to have to describe, because honestly right now, even though strictly speaking in terms of numbers, you could look at it and say, well, he's winning, I still don't see it. I still see that he's had the run of the run of his hand so far. You've yet to really come into your own, at least from my perspective anyway.
Yeah, we're definitely stacking up attacks here. It's really just a matter of which one we can get a second of, and I think we'll be okay. But you never know. I say that, and the difference is growing wider. That heal card really hurt in retrospect, and there's our second sludge breath. So this is actually
there we go. Okay,
well, here's a decision. As I mentioned, I think in our first video, you want to be careful. You don't want to vomit all your cards out. We could play Sludge Breath. We could eventually play Earth. We have all these potential attacks, but cards on your board aren't in your deck. So you want to be careful. We have Tail Bash trained. Is it worth training another mid-range attack? Or should we save up and try to do, Earth Geysers, which is a better. First thing we're going to age. We're going to shed skin. So I'm going to keep Quick Nap now, just in case this gets ugly. All right, so I don't have to make the decision now, so I'm not going to. I could play a Sludge Breath now, but I think I'm just going to continue to hoard. If you can postpone these kind of developmental decisions until it becomes clear, what I don't want to do is play, and this has happened to me so many times, I make a decision, and these are the choke points, these are intentional choke points in the game. Because you can't play everything. You make your decision, okay, I'm going to go Sludge Breath, and then the very next turn you draw an Earth Geysers. And you're like, oh, if I had just waited one more turn, I would have gone the other way. Because I at least my preference is to have, and including claw attack, maybe 3 attacks, 4 at the most with Brown, because Brown probably can afford, out of all the dragons, to train more. He's got a lot of variety in his attacks, and a lot of his attacks combo. Earth Geyser specifically combos with Claw Slam, so this is a case where these are almost considered one attack. In general, I wouldn't want to train more than another attack. So if I trade Sludge Breath now, but I also want to train Earth Geysers and Claw Slam, probably not. So I'm going to wait and hope. And let's see, and especially since I think, again, looking at the bottommost card, Claw Slam is their next card we're going to recall. So we'll have two of the most powerful, two copies of the most powerful attack, probably, certainly for the Brown, maybe in the game. Yeah, so I think it's.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, good.
That's another hit. That's good.
Now I could have been aggressive there since we do have the attack advantage, 3-2. I opted to aim strike because, admittedly, I am a little gun shy because I've been missing so much. I'm playing it probably safer than I maybe normally would. If I have an attack advantage, generally I'll go for the extra damage. But Tail Bash can just be it's such an exhausting attack in comparison. The damage to essence ratio, compared to some other attacks, you can do 2 to 5 there or 2 to 4. So it's one difference, but that one difference, it adds up over the game. So
Absolutely.
doesn't seem like much. It's just one point, but multiply that over the course of the game, it does. The difference can swing. It's the culmination of all these little minor choices you make. And another heal.
Card.
Oh boy. That hurt.
Things did just get a little interesting.
Yep, that hurt. All right, I'm going to opt to. He's doing a full-blown tail bash now, not an aimed attack. So he's guaranteed to have spent 3. I'm going to quick nap because I'm behind enough now where I'm getting a little worried. Basically, I just fell asleep on top of him and prevented him from attacking me. But I won't be able to attack either, which is fine because I really need to.
Yeah, you're still, as you referenced in the last turn, you're still at the moment gauging which attacks are going to be becoming more prominent. You're still aging.
Right.
I think he is starting to become more aggressive, and maybe that's going to be the downfall here because again, he's used the 2 heal cards to try and maintain an overall essence advantage. Fine, but in terms of an offensive, he's yet to really mount anything substantial. So, and again, no effects. Yeah, I'd say again, even with a minor discrepancy, I'd still give you the edge at this point. Maybe I'm rooting for you too hard here, but you've got a card ready to hoard. You've got a multitude of attacks. You've still also got the Rend Gift there as a sort of trump card if he does decide to play some kind of a gift card. So, yeah, it might not look, again, on the surface, a little bit deceptive, but at the same time, genuinely think that you've got the advantage here.
Well, I appreciate your optimism. It's I'm over
I
here.
tend to be more aggressive and optimistic in RPGs anyway, so you can afford to be a bit more pragmatic because I can start to see your method of progression at this point. Because again, I'm always a bit reticent to get any concerned until 11-12 advantage in the computer's favor. I start to worry. But anything around the 9-10 mark or anything less, I think that can be overturned in a couple of turns easy.
Yeah, and this is actually I mean, and all things considered, we're still both in the 40s. We're not even halfway through our decks yet. So this is actually a slow developing game overall, which can happen when you're in a brown versus a brown mirror match because they're just both so sleepy and take forever to wake up. So even though the advantage is 7 cards here, it's not the end of the world. We're not really in that end game anyway.
No, not at all.
I opted to hoard this. You can only have 1 gift in play, and right now I'm really liking the hide. So Ankle Spur would give us that +1 melee, which is good for all of our melee attacks, which is pretty much all of our attacks. But I can only have
not
1 in
useful
play.
in the current moment.
Yeah, so gotcha. I'm gonna cycle that card back into my deck, hopefully. Now I have the 2 Claw Slams. This is good because now we have, first of all, we have 3 Spirit, which means we're going to be regaining 3 cards every turn. And we're 1 away. We already have the 3 Tactics, so we can play Earth Geysers if we wanted to. But we're only 1 away now from 4 Tactics. And once we have that, the fun begins. So we're definitely on the Claw Slam right now. I go back to sleep, so I can't attack. I have to discard 1. So now that I've kind of decided, I think, being one age away from our ultimate attack, I'm going to start discarding Sludge Breath.
And that's where people need to understand what we were describing at the beginning in terms of once he gets going, becomes a juggernaut. Because as you've just seen, your long-term strategy of getting the most powerful attack, having aged to the point where it becomes useful, once you've trained those 2 attacks, it's going to be just the most amazing slugfest that initiates. Because at the moment, there's tiny little digs, and the essence discrepancy is starting to become a little concerning. But, and it's a big, round, full-blooded but. Once those attacks are trained, he doesn't really have a response for you right now. He's behind in the aging process, and his attacks aren't going to be as advanced as yours. So Yeah, I'm kind of giddy to see what happens now.
Yeah, it should be fun. And also, what's interesting, also when I age, my spirit's going to go up too. I'm sorry, my ability rather. And that will mean I can have 3 instances of a card out, and we just drew our 3rd instance of Tail Bash. So we're going to have another little choke point decision because, I mean, I don't think it's going to be much of a decision, but just for argument's sake, we could do a 3-rank Tail Bash, which would kick in this discard effect, which is always helpful. Or we could do the 2-rank Claw Slam, and that's going to kick in its effect. And if it's between those, you're probably going to pick the Claw Slam. But it is a decision point that we will have shortly. Because I am just going to board aggressively. I just want to get that 1 age as quickly as possible. I will attack, but I'm just remaining conservative. Oh boy. Alright. So this is good and bad. We did hit him, so that's good. It did some damage, but both the brown and the silver have counters which basically use your opponent's aggressiveness against them. In this case, even though we hit them, he's going to get to draw 2 cards, one of them being heal, lovely, and on his next attack, he's going to get +1 battle value. So he's going to draw heal, and he's going to draw Ren Gift. So probably 2 cards we most well, other than Feast, we probably don't want him to draw either of those cards. That's
but let me add some, again, maybe a degree of optimism. If he decides to go down that route, all he's effectively doing is again nullifying where you are right now.
Yeah.
However, you're again 1 stage away from the aging process, which he can't revoke. There's no stopping you once you age.
Right.
And then once you've trained your attacks, you'll have that advantage going forward. So while yes, he may nullify your on the board bonuses at the moment, I think that's only a temporary advantage. I think it's certainly not good, especially considering the discrepancy in essence, which again, if you look at it on the face of it, isn't actually that bad. You know, I think there's still not all that cause for concern.
Yeah.
Again, maybe being a bit optimistic there.
Well, thankfully, he opted to do neither of the things that I was fearful he would do. Because he had 2 cards in his horde, I think he was worried that I had a Feast because I hadn't played one all game.
No, you've not won. No, not at all. And that's a shame because it's starting to become less and less part of the overall gameplay, unfortunately.
Yeah, Feasts in the late game aren't as, especially now that he's at the point where he can pretty much train anything. They're not going to be as helpful. They're really more early game cards.
Indeed, yeah.
But he opted to shed skin, and then he played an awaken card, which allowed him to recall one of his attacks, which he recalled Sludge Breath, which he doesn't even have trained yet. He didn't have 30 cards in his discard pile, so this is negated. Basically what he did is he just potentially cycled a 6 back into his deck and recalled a card that he's not even training. So strategically, I would say we lucked out there. I think I would have probably done heal and Ren Gift, but maybe he, I don't know. That's the AI. I programmed different scenarios into the AI, and it opted to but maybe because he wants to keep up with my my age.
Yes, indeed.
I think that's probably why it opted to do that. But I think if it was me, I think I would have at least used the Ren Gift to get rid of this. And potentially healed. I mean, again, he's not that far behind. Actually, he's ahead, so healing is probably not healing's probably not a huge concern to him right now. That's probably why he didn't opt to do it. But anyway, it does help us because now we can start the fun.
There you go. That gap just shortens just a little bit.
Yep. All right, and we're going to cycle that. Just making sure. We're going to cycle that 4 back into our deck, hopefully. Claw attack just keeps coming back to play, but yeah, we're going to start with the Claw Slam. Now, unfortunately, we only have 2 actions a turn. I can't play the Volt this turn because I had to spend one of them to shed skin.
No.
But next turn we'll be able to start using our attack to its maximum. I can still attack with it. It's 3 from 8. So I think I'm I think I will. I could do the aim strike on the tail bash and do 2 essence for 4. But in this case, it's 2 for 4 or 3 for 8. So I think I'd rather take this.
Oh wow, okay, so this is the first little bit of aggressiveness we're seeing from in terms of attack aggressiveness, but it is towards the latter part we would think of the battle, so maybe...
Yeah, now that we're halfway through our deck, it is, but again, we have we're 3-2 attack advantage, so the ties don't necessarily go to him, unless he plays a counter. So we have the advantage, and for that 1 essence difference, I'm doing 4 more damage. So I think it's worth it. Let's see.
Let's see if it pays off for him.
It's definitely worth it when you hit. Definitely helps when you hit. So.
And this is what I was saying earlier. I mean, the fact that the Ren gift and the heal didn't come into play, kind of, it doesn't, it's neither here nor there. But that was my point earlier, is that because that's a short-term advantage, while the immediate effect is not desired, it doesn't necessarily hinder your plan of attack or your strategy at the moment. And you're seeing that now, because the next turn, like you say, the fun really starts to begin there.
And for people wondering what we're talking about, when you attack with a rank 2 Claw Slam, this effect comes into play because we're playing with a rank 2 plus attack. And if we hit with it, we get to immediately try the attack again at the first rank. So, and you can keep doing, like, theoretically, if we have a rank 4, we can Claw Slam again and again and again. Until we don't have any more ranks left.
That's why he's the juggernaut, man. There's just no once you get him going, there's no stopping him, it would seem. But again, it does take a tremendous amount of patience, and you need to be cautious in your approach up until this point. And again, maybe I'd have been slightly more aggressive up until this point, but your patience, again, has paid dividends because you chose the right moment to be aggressive.
Yes. I should clarify, that was, this is one of the changes from the tabletop to the computer game. In the original tabletop version, you could just keep doing it for as long as you had essence. I did, because it was so unbalancing. It ended up being a huge problem. I did limit it to this the once on the Claw Slam. However, it combos with Earth Geysers, and that lets you Claw Slam. So then you could combo with this to do Earth Geysers, Claw Slam, Claw Slam. So you could theoretically do 3 attacks in 1 turn with it, rather than what was happening in the tabletop version is people would combo it with Earth Geysers and Claw Slam, and they would do like 6 attacks in 1 turn. it would either be a game-winning moment or a game-losing moment, because they would either burn all of their essence doing this 1 Hulk smash attack, or they would win the game. So it ended up being something that I wanted to pull back quite a little bit, but keep the flavor of having the combo. So you can still do 3 attacks if you have the essence, and if you do you hit all your attacks. And believe me, 3 is usually plenty, but you can't just do it forever. And that's intentional. So I kind of had a little slip from the tabletop version. Again, this digital version is a redesign, revamp, a reimagining in a lot of ways of that tabletop version. That said, I was going to discard Earth Geysers because it's a 5 and I want to get high battle value cards in, but I'm 1 Earth Geysers away from that combo I just mentioned. So, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of other. I mean, I have a lot of low battle value cards, so I hate. I mean, really, I'm going to discard it. I was going to say I don't want to discard Run Gift because I just want to keep it just in case. Tail Bash, it's only a 1 difference. I mean, only 1 at 1 could matter, but because it would enable this rank 3 plus attack effect, I want to keep it just in case. But that might be a decision where, like, when I draw that claw attack later and I'm 1 point off, I'll remember. It's because I didn't discard Tail Bash. Okay,
so he's gone the opposite way to you and gone for the Sludge Breath as opposed to the Claw Slam. Interesting, okay.
So
this could be where he's starting to mount his attack.
Yep.
But he went for the Tail Bash instead.
Yeah, that's because the disadvantage, So Sludge Breath doesn't use melee versus body. It uses his breath because he's physically breathing the boulder,
Yep.
spitting it from his mouth, and it's versus my elemental resistance. So in this case, I have a resistance of 2. His breath is only a 1. So he opted to stick with his old standby, which is thankfully a 3 to 3. So he missed. That's a good thing.
And now we're back on even terms.
We are. And we have this burst. In case he opts to try to get out of the way, we can burst right back into. We can use it offensively to make sure that we are in range. I can use the burst. I will play this. I think I'm going to just rest. That will cycle the 4 back into my deck, and just because at this point, it's really in essence, now that I have this trained, unless I get another Earth Geysers, I'm kind of satisfied with my board state. Aging would give me that extra 4. I'd be regaining an extra card every turn, so that's helpful. I don't really need that extra ability at this point.
Not at the moment, no.
So really, the only reason to age would be to get that one extra. Yeah, stay ahead of him and get that 1 extra card every turn. And 1 extra card.
Which he doesn't seem to be interested in doing at the moment, so.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if you have your board state set up, it's probably fine to just play that board state. If I didn't, I would certainly want to make sure I could regain as much as possible. So I could aim strike, but if I aim strike, I won't be able to use this effect, so I'm going to have to open pray. There we go. All right.
Hey.
So it's 1 hit, Hulk smash, and yes, I will do it again. Thank you.
And now you're seeing the turn, ladies and gentlemen.
Nothing like a 16-point swing in 1 turn.
Just
and you
like
can you can see why I had to limit that, because if you can just do that repeatedly, even though you are spending essence, so it did cost me 6. But on the flip side, he just took 16
but it swung the game.
Yeah.
That's the difference. That's again, those are the kinds of strategies that you love to see play out in real time, because now that's what I was saying earlier. I genuinely gave the advantage to you, just not because of the on the board score, but it's look, yes, but you're sacrificing a lot to maintain that.
Yep.
And unless you finish your opponent within that time frame, the opponent has all of the advantage, and that's what you're seeing now. You've got the advantage, and all he can really do is try to work to contain you at this point.
Yeah, and now it becomes for him. It's a race, but if it's a straight damage race, it's one I win. It's more now stacking your discard pile becomes essential, and which cards you discard become very important, because you want to get those high battle value cards back in your deck as much as possible so that you can draw them and ensure that I'm hitting, and hopefully that, because he just used his Ren gift to get rid of my gift, so now he's got an attack advantage as well. So now we're both basically just going to be slugging on each other. So essence management is what it's all about right now. Interesting. So I did draw an event. He put out Sage Towers, which means we're both going to be drawing cards, drawing more cards every turn. I could counter that. It does give him potentially more answers, which I don't like. Slayers is another option since I'm ahead. It essentially is guaranteed damage every turn, but it damages us both. It would speed up the game, though.
No, we want to win. We want to win here. We're not interested in speed, my friend. We want to get that W on the board. Right. And we're looking like it. We're looking like we're going to do it. So let's not... I can sense that there was a bit of reticence there. No, we're going to press the advantage now. We got it. We want to keep it.
All right.
He wants to have more options. That's great. Give him more rope to hang himself at this point. Let's see how he goes from here.
Well, then we will use both of our actions and we'll just sleep, because by resting with 2 actions, you get to regain the top 3 cards in your discard, and that would be a 5, a 6, and a 6, and that would be perfect. We want all of those right back in our deck. So we'll do that, and we will lost land.
Let's do this.
Oh, and there he goes. He decided, yeah, enough of that. We're going to take a nap. Which is the perfect.
It's all right.
Yep. And there's my first feast card. We'll be putting that right back in the deck, but let's put let's put this first. plus 5 next to the 5 will be clicking back in first. Just in case if we get hit, that 5 is that much closer than the 2. Getting cycled back in. Alright, so because he can't attack and he's down on essence, he chose to move all the way to safe. Now I could burst, because that means it'll cost me 3 essence just to move back into melee. So he's using... I could use the burst now, and just to get into distant range, but then he could attack theoretically with Sludge Breath. So I'm going to wait and use the burst on my turn. Oh, and he's healing again.
And he's healing.
Yep. So I told you it can it can swing both ways pretty quickly. They're never totally out of it, especially when you keep drawing heal cards. That's his 3rd heal of the game, which is, that adds up. Alright, so now as I was saying, it's going to cost us 3 to move to close. So what I'm instead going to do, I'm going to spend 1 to move the distance. And then I'll use this burst to kind of get us the rest of the way. And yeah, it cost me a card, but it saved me 2 essence.
Saves on the essence, of course.
Again, it's all about the essence management at this point. Alright, so let's see what we have here. 3, a 3, and a 6. So we'll go ahead and rest. I mean, now the 3s aren't great, but I don't have a whole lot of better options here. Again, boarding at this point isn't going to do much for us. And we'll just try it again. There we go. Alright, so...
Boom.
And then that's one of the 6s. I think that was one of the 6s we cycled back in, so... Boom. Alright.
There it goes.
Alright, we're close. We're close. We're close.
Oh, so close.
Alright. So we're gonna discard. At this point I'm pretty happy at Earth Geysers. I don't think we aren't gonna need it. I'm gonna get that 5 back in. Again, the only reason to do Earth Geysers now would be to do a 3 attack combo. But at this point we just need to
get one real sweet shot in.
With Claw Slam, yeah. And I think that'll be enough.
Oh, a last ditch attempt. Oh, and the music swells. It's the mighty beast.
And he's not even attacking because he doesn't have enough essence. So this is perfect.
Oh, it's almost. I mean, it almost feels. It feels. I don't know. I feel sad in this. I don't feel a sense of overwhelming victory here. I feel.
I do.
I don't know. I feel like, you know, he put up a hell of a fight. You know, he was winning for most of the match, and
I mean,
you know,
he had that feast card. He had 3 heals. He had a rend gift. He was pretty savage. But we have Claw Slam. Now the decision is: do I go for a 3rd Claw Slam so that I can aim strike and guarantee? I think I will, because really, if I rest rather, I'm really only cycling in a 1, a 4, and a 3. If I use this, wait a minute, hold on. It's too bad I don't have 30 cards in my discard pile. Then I would get the +1 rank anyway. I could have a 4 rank Claw Slam. But that's just being totally greedy. I'm trying to figure out a way if I can get something else in my discard pile, but I could get this 6 in, and then cycle that back in. I'll do that. Alright, so now if I rest, the 6 goes back in instead of the 1, which is good. And we'll just, again, try to end the game. There we go. I think that's it. Yes!
And there it is.
Whew.
Ah.
Glorious victory.
He gets the win, ladies and gentlemen. I never doubted him for a second.
Monkey's off my back.
Well, there you go.
I'm happy I got to showcase one of my favorite attacks just because it's just so fun. I just have... The Hulk is probably my favorite Marvel character, and just that image of the brown dragon literally picking you up and smashing you back and forth. I just love that attack, so that I got to showcase it. The only thing that would have made it more perfect was if we could have comboed it with the geysers, but you know, that's just being greedy. So.
Well, again, the problem was that even though, again, pressing the advantage seemed to be more in your favor towards the back end of the match. For the majority, he held the lead, but most of his cards were geared towards maintaining that lead, and that's only well and good if you're, still doing it. And he wasn't really damaging you. You were using a lot of your essence to build you up, and you lost it. He had a feast card come up against you, and he'd had some heals. Again, it was one of those things where tactics, that you have to implement them to an ultimate endgame. You can't stymie your opponent forever.
Right.
It's just not. I've never found that to be a winning tactic. Yes, you can try and counter your opponent to a certain extent, but you've always got to have. Yeah, it'd be great to counter him here, but I feel like this is the best thing for me to do in this situation, because then that allows me the opportunity. Like you said, you had that debate in real time. You were like, right, I can go for this set of cards, but then if I go for the Claw Slam, that then means that I can combo this. So I feel confident that's going to come up. And what happened? It paid dividends. Smashed him to pieces. Within 3 turns?
Yeah.
That game was over?
Yeah, so if I had missed a few of those, it could have been a totally different game. But the decision that we had is exactly what he had, and he went the other way, and you saw what happened. We could have done Sludge Breath as well, but I opted to wait just that extra turn to see what would happen, and the extra turn basically gave me that second Claw Slam. He opted to go ahead and train his breath attack, but by doing that, essentially his best attack, he wasn't. His breath ability wasn't trained enough to use it, so it was almost a waste. He almost played those 2 cards, and he never even attempted it, because he just went right back to Tail Bash because my defense was against his breath attack was so high. So because he wasn't able to come up with a better, and really any other, like if he had Earth Geysers, if he had Claw Slam, if he had Crushing Claw, any 3 of those could have swung it a little, probably. Or if he had that third, if he managed to get that third Sludge Breath out, that would have been a totally different game as well. But because that never happened for him, he was really just relying on Tail Bash for the entirety of the game, and it almost paid off. I mean, I was down to 17 cards, so it wasn't like it was a total slaughter. But and if I had missed a couple of attacks and he had hit, it could have swung. But the fact that I had pretty much the best Brown Mauler attack out and trained, and he was still relying on Tail Bash, that was a huge difference in the end, I think. Yeah.
It was a hell of a match. Again, I know it sounds like hyperbole, but I enjoyed watching them yesterday. The day before. Today, though, it was beautiful watching it play out in real time, knowing that, just looking at it from the perspective of, well, I agree with the decisions you're making. I hope they pay off. But like you said, you never. Again, I've played this game enough now to know that you can never be too confident in victory until that hit drops.
Yeah.
Once the hit drops and you finally, it feels so good. But until that hit drops, you're never more than a couple of misses away from them drawing another couple of cards that then draw you into another dogfight or another race to try and improve your overall standing. But we got that W, and
that felt good.
It feels so good.
That first Claw Slam felt good. I have to admit, after losing the first two matches, doing 16 points of damage in one turn, it felt good, man. It felt good. and I'm one win away from my own boss fight, which is the Crone. So yeah, that's interesting. I have beaten her, thankfully. In this particular playthrough, I have beaten Traxia and I've beaten the Crone. I have yet to beat Yabul on this playthrough. I have beaten him in a different playthrough, but yeah. So you can see the bosses are. There are 4 bosses. I have only beaten 2 of them in this playthrough, and I've played, I don't know, in this particular save file, 80 games probably. I got 27 for just the brown, and I don't know. Let's see how we're doing. Another 16 with the silver, and let's see how we're doing on the blue here. Yeah, 20. I'm doing math. So yeah, I have probably almost close to the 90 games more than that. Yeah, this is 46 with the red. So yeah, so I've played probably close to 100 games here, and I've only beaten the. Granted, the 3 new bosses anyway only came recently, so it's not like I've played 90 games with 3 bosses available to me. They came in kind of late in early access, but regardless, you can see there's plenty to play towards. In addition to the beating all the bosses that I mentioned, you have the layer development, and you have all these badges, which 100 games, and I still have this many to collect. So,
well, I made a point of saying that in the review, which is, look, when you're looking at the pricing of a game and you're looking at content, it's not just that it's there. It has to be that you want to play through that content.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking every single time I finished a game, oh, okay, just one more.
One more.
And then when you get that one more game and you win and you get something for it, it's not enough to just grind to win games. You got to fall in love with the grind to a certain degree. You got to love the destination. Also almost becomes secondary, but it becomes nice to get to that secondary stage. So you're playing the game, you're enjoying it, you get into grips with your decks, you get into grips with your dragons. But then when you get that nice little caveat of a reward at the end, fantastic. When you come face to face with the boss like I'm about to, and you're like, oh, okay, fair enough, now I've really got to up my game. That's where that content becomes worth something, as opposed to just saying, yeah, I've got 100 levels. Well, yeah, but if 98 of them are the same as the first two,
right?
Come on, man. Whereas, as you've just seen, we've played 3 games now on the show. All 3 of them were completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, sure, the first 2 were losses, but I feel like in those 2 games, you were a little bit distracted by me asking questions and dropping things in, and maybe not the most aggressive. In this game, you had a very clear strategy. You picked the one that you wanted to go with from the start, and it paid off. And again, I would urge people to bear that in consideration when playing this game, is you do need to find a strategy that works for you. It's not enough just to sort of play to the strengths of the dragon in of itself. You do need to, again, have a cohesive strategy to win, not just to counteract everything that your opponent does. Because that always, just in my experience in playing any card game, it only works for so long before your opponent starts reeling you in.
Yeah. And the another thing I think that this game showcased was we started out with not a great hand, and we were able to, just through perseverance and through slowly building up our strategy over the game, come up with something devastating in the end. And one of the questions that sometimes comes up is, because most card games have mulligans, and DragonClash very specifically doesn't. And this is exactly why, because I want people to play with what they have and discover that you can, even when you start with a bad hand, with no attacks that we could use, you can overcome that just through the mechanics of the game, the flow of the game. The game is built to, there's enough in it where you can pull some kind of strategy out of that, just through aging, through shedding your skin, through careful discarding of attacks so that you can recall them again, like we were doing with Claw Slam. We recalled that card, 3 times, I think? The same card.
Indeed, yeah.
So there are ways built in where if you start out with a strong hand, great. But even if you start with a weak hand, you can. There are enough choke points. There are enough strategic decisions, I think, where you can usually sometimes you do get rolled over, but usually you can pull something, pull those wins out, and it might not come until the last turn. It might be one turn, and that's what happened with our Silver Dragon match. I think we, if he had missed that last attack and we had hit, and had that one more turn to potentially hit, I think we would have won that game. So, but for those who don't want to, there is always a concede option in the options menu, but I hate conceding because it messes with my record.
I never concede.
Yeah.
It's to the death, my friend.
Yes,
but
I agree with you.
There you go, DragonClash. If you've not already purchased it, having watched our first podcast, our first playthrough, the review, and this video, I got nothing for you. You can't recognize a good game when you see it. Go and, I don't know, go play, I don't know, what are the kids playing these days? Fort Halo?
Fort Halo.
Mind Lift? I don't know, whatever the devil they're playing these days. Go play one of those dumbass games instead of this, because you don't deserve it. But honestly, I've made it perfectly clear in my review. I made it perfectly clear in the podcast and the first playthrough. This is a game that I would recommend any Steam player have in their library, because it is one of the best produced games I've played, but the more I've played it, the more I've come to appreciate just what a fun game it is once you get to grips with the nuances and every subtle mechanic that's working in the background, just to make every game feel that little bit more unique from the last. So, honestly, This isn't just me pandering now. This is me saying, as a guy who has to play a lot of terrible games, and I mean a lot of them, when I get to play a good game, I can't rave about it enough. So, listen, just before we wrap things up, Mark, I want to say thank you again.
Thank you.
Where can they find this game, and where can they find you on the socials?
Sure. Yeah. The game is on Steam. You can search for it, DragonClash, in the store. If for some reason you can't find it, just go to DragonClash.com, and the link is there to get to the Steam store. There's also links to our social channels where you can keep up to date on things like the reviews you're hopefully watching from our dear host here, and also content updates or just patches and that kind of thing. And those are on Facebook and Twitter, both at DragonClash Game. Hope to see you in the community.
Excellent. Well, one last little announcement before we leave today, because I toyed with pitching this to the guys over at Two Beard Gaming. Go and check us out over there, as opposed to the Halcyon Show, which is just yours truly. But Two Beard Gaming is a gaming website that I've joined recently. Let's Play series. They've been haggling me to start one. I think I've chosen the game that I want to play. I think DragonClash is a game that I can get my teeth into terms of not only having a good gameplay experience, not only having a tremendous amount of content to burn through now because of the progression that's available to me, but also, hey, listen, I've loved watching these games. The only thing I just want to I just want to get I want to overlay these with some commentary of my own, which is maybe a little cruder than the language we've used in this, and I don't want to sully my guest's reputation with some of the coarse language that I might use. So you might want to cover the kids' ears for those ones if you do check those out. But this is a game that I want to do a series on. I want to see how the game progresses. I want to see how it unfolds. I don't want to put it to one side, having reviewed it now. So stay tuned for those videos. But again, Mark, I have loved having you on the show. If I find an excuse to get you back on, rest assured, once we have time, we will do it again. But I can't thank you enough. And everybody, for the love of God, if I have to come to your houses and force feed you this, go and play the goddamn game. Go and buy it right now. Stop watching these videos. Go and buy the game, please. Just do it as a favor to me. Do it as a favor to Mark. We'll both love you forever. Go and buy the game.
And there is a free demo. I forgot to mention that. So for those who might be on the fence for whatever reason, play the demo. You can play the Red Breather as much as you want. You can even play a boss fight, and hopefully that will convince you. If all this, if you remain unconvinced to this point,
what more could you want? Go and play the demo at least. Come on now.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.